Imagine if you were so distraught with Star Wars Episode 7 that you kidnapped Harrison Ford and forced him to remake the movie in your basement. So is the case with Stealing Solo, a Captain's Parody, the newest comic book from World Class Bullshitters. Stealing Solo is a parody of Star Wars and Hollywood in general. It's only available through Indiegogo for a short period of time, and once it's gone, it's gone. There's tons of perks and awesome gifts to get at each level, so sign up today to guarantee your copy of Stealing Solo before it's too late. This video is also brought to you by the Galaxy Ascendant series by Yakov Mirkin, a new, grand scope, action-packed space opera series. If you're disappointed with the current state of the galaxy far, far away, come visit the Galaxy Ascendant. Books 1 and 2 now available on Amazon.com. And the 2017 Golden Stake winning Undeadly Secret series, now available on Amazon in digital and paperback. For fans of True Blood, Underworld, and Blade, when they are awesome. Warning, the themes depicted in this series may be too intense for some readers. These vampires don't sparkle. Links in the description below.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
I've been calling Lucasfilm and name only creatively bankrupt for many months now. They lack any assets in the originality department. They've defaulted on their promise to expand the Star Wars brand, and now they've overdrawn their goodwill with the fans. For what seems like an eternity, I've been on a crusade to bring attention to their bad decisions and how those around them attempt to deflect any and all criticism. I caught wind of an interesting article from Den of Geek titled Star Wars Episode 9, The Limits of Nostalgia, and it discussed the desperation of Lino and the impending release of Episode 9. It's a bit long, so I'll be paraphrasing it. And the writer's a bit of a tool, so I won't sing his praises at all, but it's interesting to say the least. It looks like the Star Wars franchise is having a fire sale on nostalgia, but did Lucasfilm tip their hand too early? When it comes to trumpeting Carrie Fisher's return as General Leia via archival footage, Lucasfilm absolutely made the right call. If rumors started circulating that J.J. Abrams was using old footage of Fisher, the whole thing could have seemed creepy, so it makes sense that they needed to get ahead of those potential rumors up front. But revealing Luke and Lando and having Abrams call the movie a conclusion to the Skywalker saga signals a subtle but important change in Lucasfilm's communication strategy with the fans. In short, the latest press release vaguely feels like damage control, insofar as the studio seems to be publicly promising fans they will get everything they want in this movie. It's possible that revealing Luke and Lando this early is a response to Solo's underperforming at the box office, or the trolls who hated The Last Jedi. Lucasfilm could have kept Star Wars fans guessing until December 2019 about Luke and Lando, and if this was 2016, they certainly would have. The fact that Lucasfilm did not keep all their Sabbath cards close to their vests with all of this feels like they're a little desperate, or they're just uncertain how much longer they can rely on nostalgia to sell movie tickets. Before Solo, Lucasfilm's approach to nostalgia was a little different. The Carrie Fisher CGI cameo in Rogue One was a secret. Yoda's brief appearance in The Last Jedi was kept under wraps, and nobody knew Darth Maul would show up in Solo, a Star Wars story, even after Ray Park himself was glimpsed on the red carpet. Does Lucasfilm think Solo would have done better at the box office if they made a big deal about Park reprising the role of Maul way before the movie came out? Maybe. After all, if Clone Wars Saved proved anything, it's that nostalgia for the prequel era exists too. All 4 contemporary Star Wars movies are built on nostalgia for the brand itself, to some extent, and most would argue that of the 4, Solo is the most derivative of the nostalgia reliant. But Solo is not only almost completely lacking in any actors from the original trilogy, it's structurally unlike any Star Wars movie. In the absence of a classic trilogy actor, Solo needs something buzzworthy to make people excited about it. Alden Ehrenreich's old-school no-Twitter approach wasn't going to help them, and sadly, most of the buzz about this movie was because of Lucasfilm firing its original directors and replacing them with Ron Howard, sparking endless speculation about the quality of the final product. But Solo also loses nostalgia points because it's structurally and thematically different from other Star Wars movies. For one thing, the plot doesn't lead or feature a giant battle with 2 armies or fleets fighting it out. Solo is actually a weird movie, and takes place mostly in locations hardcore fans either don't care about or weren't invested in prior to seeing the movie. To be clear, these are all reasons why Solo is interesting, but also reasons why people subliminally didn't respond to it. If anything, it's a minimalist film. Despite its derivative elements, Solo is riskier than Rogue One or The Last Jedi in terms of pleasing Star Wars fans, who are ticking boxes, lightsabers, X-Wing fighters, the Force, etc. Meanwhile, though Rogue One mostly had unfamiliar characters, it connected with people prior to the release, and that is partially because of its onslaught of visual nostalgia. In interviews leading up to the release, Gareth Edwards described the movie as a period piece, and that period meant it was from the 1970s. From the creation of the Death Star sets to the Rebel base on Yavin 4, the interiors of Leia's blockade runner, and the return of James Earl Jones' Darth Vader, Rogue One had immediate and identifiable nostalgia points. These things also served a purpose in the plot. We think Rogue One is a risky standalone war movie, but it was deeply identifiably nostalgic. Many would tell you The Last Jedi rejects nostalgia thanks to Rian Johnson flipping the script on so many assumptions fans had about the Skywalker saga, but no one knew that before they went to the theater. And the popularity of the movie, despite the crazy trolls yelling afterwards, proves one very important thing. People have strong opinions about Luke Skywalker, perhaps the definitive childhood hero of the 1980s. Even the debate around The Last Jedi is connected to nostalgia, so it surely played a role in its success. Still, peddling Star Wars nostalgia in 2015 and 2016 is very different than in 2018. In 2015, Lucasfilm could dole out a little at a time. Now, it seems like they're worried that they can't. Before The Force Awakens came out, the second big trailer for the film famously sported Han Solo saying, "Chewie, we're home," causing countless adults to burst into tears. The original concept of nostalgia was connected to the literal homesickness. It was only after a few centuries that we started to use the word to describe a time in the past as something we're longing for, rather than a place that is far, far away. Obviously, Star Wars has always subsisted on nostalgia, even before people knew what it was. It seemed familiar, and that's because George Lucas famously cribbed from a variety of old-school sources, 30s Flash Gordon serials, Kurosawa films, and a variety of fairy tales, folklore, and mythology. In 1977, what was most groundbreaking about Star Wars wasn't the story, but the packaging. It was a fairy tale that seemed real, a sci-fi adventure that felt corny without being embarrassing. Some unused marketing material for Star Wars would have even compared it to Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon, proving that, from the very beginning, Lucas and his team knew that this was a nostalgic product. Many people who get excited about familiar things in Star Wars movies aren't nostalgic for the stuff Lucas cared about, but rather for Star Wars itself. Broadly, that means classic trilogy stuff, and more specifically, that means classic trilogy actors. If Lucasfilm had started promoting Episode 9 but kept Mark Hamill and Billy D. Williams and the archival Leia stuff secret, they would have run the risk of people losing interest. Prior to Solo's poor turnover at the box office, it would be easy to say that simply putting out a new movie with the word Star Wars on it was enough, but that's clearly not true anymore. Lucasfilm felt like they needed to put all this stuff out there right away. They didn't want to risk Mark Hamill giving cryptic answers on Twitter about the fate of Luke Skywalker. And that's because they know the truth. Star Wars is most popular and economically safe when it's not doing anything new. There's an avalanche of commentary out there in which fans and pundits proclaim that the richness of the fictional world of Star Wars is what makes it so interesting, and that the ability to explore all the richness with new movies and projects is what makes it so exciting that Disney is taking the franchise in crazy new directions. Supposedly, Rian Johnson's new trilogy will be all new characters set in a totally different part of the galaxy. It will be very interesting to see how Disney/Lucasfilm markets these movies without nostalgia. Will they even try? From a hype perspective, Star Wars movies seem not to rely only on legacy characters, but the faces of those specific actors too, or in the case of Vader, that helmet. At some point, mark my words, someone will use a love letter to the fans to describe Episode 9, which, from a certain point of view, might be a good thing, but if Lucasfilm is using nostalgia to sell this movie, the implied message of the new casting announcement seems clear. Come get your old Star Wars stuff while it lasts. Douchiness aside, there are some good points being made here. From the article it says, it's possible that revealing Luke Skywalker and Lando this early is a response to Solo underperforming at the box office, or the trolls who hated The Last Jedi. Trolls? God, not another one. What is the name? You know what, it doesn't even matter what the name of the author is. It's interesting to call the portion of the fanbase not happy with The Last Jedi trolls. It's almost like we make up such a big part of the Star Wars consumer base that Lucasfilm is worried we won't come back. So they have to hook us with something. Lando ain't enough, so we get more Luke. Luke's been ruined by Ryan? Well, shit. How about Princess Leia? We can milk the nerds who had a boner for her back in the day one more time. Whatever we do, we have to cover up this garbage saga we've created for ourselves because no one likes it. Agendas be damned, we're losing money. How else can we take over the world if we're broke? Daddy Disney only loves a winner. It's so telling that they have to worry about the vocal fans that the media call a minority. I find it interesting that Hollyweird constantly caters to an even smaller minority that doesn't even like their product in the first place. Speaking of not buying, it's a telling sign that the only San Diego Comic-Con exclusive that did not sell out at the time of this recording from the Star Wars brand was the 6-inch garbage from The Force Awakens. Remember folks, we're supposed to let the past die, but Disney and Lucasfilm and Hasbro will sure as shit market the hell out of it. Hypocritical much? Back to the article. All 4 contemporary Star Wars movies are built on nostalgia for the brand itself to some extent. Yes, they are, but I'd argue that built on isn't a strong enough phrase. I'd argue that they're built from nostalgia. You can't look away from the fact that The Force Awakens was a New Hope light and that The Last Jedi ripped off most of its story from The Empire Strikes Back. Rogue One led into A New Hope, and Solo pulled from as much iconography that its wasted excuse for existing could. I've seen it since 2015, and people seem to get a wake-up call in 2017. We watch Star Wars become a bigger joke each and every day. People are tired of the garbage. They rebelled with Solo, and now Disney is scared. Scared of failure. Scared of a damaged brand that they can't fix. And scared of us. Call us the fandom menace, angry fans, or a group of people dedicated to the once great brand that took place in a galaxy far, far away. But whatever you decide to call us, realize our power. Combined, we can make or break a franchise. Disney broke Star Wars, and we're not ready to forgive. In the modern era, it goes beyond bad films. It now stems from attacks on social media by unhinged authors, bad directors, and misguided fools constantly taking shots at a fan base that speaks with its dollar, and Disney knows this. They've known what they've done, or allowed to be done. The Force is female was the first mistake. Rian Johnson, the greatest. The next year and a few months are going to be a telling time for Star Wars. Disney and Lucasfilm will definitely hold its tongue. There will be no more controversies like the Kelly Marie transition from Solo's failure. There won't be J.J. Abrams tweeting to attack us. There won't be any more fanboy tears because Disney knows it needs fanboys' money to keep Star Wars running. They hope we'll forget about the abuse and welcome Star Wars with open arms and wet eyes from all the nostalgic tears we'll be gushing from seeing Carrie Fisher zapped to life through the magic of film. Don't fall for it. You're the smartest fan base out there. Star Wars appeals to so many people for so many different reasons, but no one likes what they're doing with it now. So folks, since this article has come out, Rian Johnson attacked Mike Zero and had a big stink. All the big fuss on the internet came out post the writing of this article, and we talked about it, and there's even less interest in his trilogy, if that's even possible. I find it funny that they're able to do something each and every time to make Star Wars seem less and less desirable and more of a joke. So what I take from this article is the fact that other people out there, even people that like The Last Jedi, can see the power of nostalgia and see the faults of Disney and Lucasfilm relying so heavily on the nostalgia. Nostalgia is all they got at this point. They need to pull a fantastic film out of their ass with Episode 9 to impress so many people. Because this is it. This is their last chance. If they fuck it up, they're done. They can tell us, oh, we got Benioff and Weiss making their movies, we got the Jon Favreau show, we got Rian Johnson's trilogy, we got X, Y, and Z coming down the pipe. But if we have a bad failure like we did with Solo in Episode 9, well, damn it, Star Wars is done for a while. They're going to have to bench it, they're going to have to let Marvel make some more money, and then they'll take another chance with Star Wars down the road. And that's where we are, and that's what we have to accept. So folks, if you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, but before you click off, make sure you check out Stealing Solo, a Captain's Parody. It's already roared past its goal of $20,000, and we're on our way to $40,000, the stretch goal, where we give out the Comicsgate trading cards. And then from there, the tiers go up and up. But make sure you get your copy now, because once it's gone, it's gone. If you don't know what the story is, it's about the world-class bullshitters, the 4 of us on the channel, and 2 of us kidnap Harrison Ford and force him to remake Star Wars in our basement. It's as crazy as it sounds, and it's 10 times funnier than you can possibly imagine. So get yourselves a copy. It puts the comic back in comic books. Stealing Solo, a Captain's Parody, is only available until October the 20th, so get yours before the Indiegogo campaign ends. I'll be back later in the week with more content here on World Class Bullshitters, and thank you for watching.